Your top stories this evening, sponsored by Courts, bringing value home. Venezuela's gold being smuggled into Guyana to help finance the Nicolas Maduro regime. United States again puts Guyana on notice. AFC slams GECOM over refusal to share voters list with smaller political parties. Guyana, a poor country, but government says it is using the revenue from oil and gas to create the wealth. And police under fire for shooting of Stanley Tung man. Whereabouts of the man remains unknown. HGP Nightly News begins now. Good evening to our viewers here in Guyana and online. I'm Travis Chase with the Monday, June 30 edition of the HGP Nightly News. Here's what you need to know this evening. The United States has once again put Guyana on notice about Venezuelan gold being smuggled into Guyana to help finance the Nicolas Maduro regime. Guyana, in turn, has promised to tackle this head-on. More details in this report. The 2025 United States International Narcotics Control Strategy Report did say that gold smuggling in Guyana often facilitates money laundering, as criminals use illegal gold sales to disguise illicit funds, bypassing regulations. Nightly News back in April reported that it is still unclear as to what extent Venezuelan gold is entering the Guyanese supply chain or vice versa. Once again, the United States has warned the Ali-led regime about gold being smuggled through Guyana to help finance the Nicolas Maduro-led regime. In light of this, the United States once again has put the Guyana government on notice.
And we have received that advisory today, and we want you to know that we are putting enormous resources into ensuring that the threat of illicit gold smuggling that can help to empower or safeguard undemocratic forces are uprooted.
The president was at the time addressing an American embassy reception to mark the United States' 249th independence anniversary. There are reports of gold from Venezuela being smuggled into Guyana. A few licensed gold dealers and traders would then be contacted and instructed to reduce the 98% purity gold from Venezuela by mixing it with Guyana's gold. Some of those gold bars are then sold to the Guyana Gold Board, while some are prepared for export to different repositories, especially in the Middle East.
Only today, the U.S. reminded all of its partners about the serious threat with Venezuela as it relates to gold smuggling.
The United States report did highlight that in Guyana's mining sector, money laundering methods include large cash deposits using forged agreements of sale for non-existent precious minerals, as well as cross-border transport of concealed precious metals to avoid payment of the relevant taxes and duties. Most recently, businessman Nizar Mohammed had raised the issue of men dressed in military uniform buying and selling gold on behalf of the Nicolas Maduro regime. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. With Guyanese expected to head to the polls on September 1, questions are mounting about fairness and transparency in the electoral process. The Alliance for Change continues to raise concerns about recent decisions by the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, which it believes undermines smaller political parties. Find out more from Tiana Cole.
As the election season intensifies, the Alliance for Change AFC is accusing the Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, of implementing strategies that disadvantage smaller political parties. At a recent press conference, AFC officials criticized GECOM's refusal to provide a hard copy of the preliminary list of electors, PLE, to all contesting parties. AFC leader Niger Hughes argued that GECOM's decision, combined with recent changes in electoral forms, indicates an institutional bias toward two major parties, the People's Progressive Party Civic (PPPC) and the Partnership for National Unity (APNU).
Their actions appear to be a clear part of a strategy by GECOM that any parties, other than the two traditional parties, have the right to participate on equal footing, and appear to be a clear attempt to impugn the candidacy of the smaller parties.
Hughes further highlighted that these developments come on the heels of revelations that the Attorney General, who is also a PPP candidate, was advising GECOM on electoral matters, raising concerns about impartiality. The AFC also questioned the financial reasoning behind GECOM's decision. They pointed out that in previous elections, all contesting parties were provided with hard copies of the list and queried what aspect of the Commission's budget would be impacted by doing so now.
In the light of the millions of dollars which have been provided to GECOM, we ask, what percentage of the budget would it take to provide a list of all the contestants, a list of all the electors to each contestant?
Hughes maintained that his party views GECOM's refusal as a direct threat to electoral fairness. He emphasized that equal access to vital electoral information is fundamental to a free and fair election process. Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
We tell you now that President Irfan Ali told supporters of the People's Progressive Party Civic at a fundraising dinner on Saturday night that Guyana does not have any wealth with oil and gas, but his government will use the revenue from the sector to create the wealth.
President Mohamed Irfan Ali at a PPPC fundraising dinner on Monday night said Guyana's wealth is not oil and gas, but promised to create wealth for the Guyanese people with revenues that are being generated by the sector.
Earlier today, I spoke to a very significant global leader. And he was saying to me, my friend, you don't have to worry. You have great wealth with the oil and gas. And I said to him, I beg to differ. We don't have wealth with oil and gas. We have revenue with oil and gas.
Ghana is sitting on an estimated 11 billion barrels of oil in the Stabroek Block alone, but a lopsided contract that gives the operator ExxonMobil Ghana Limited and its partners Hess and CNOOC a tax-free ride, which pundits believe has shortchanged the country. Rather than renegotiating the contract, the current administration has settled for the deal and is now promising that they will spend the revenue generated to create wealth for the Guyanese people.
Wealth is created when we utilize that revenue from oil and gas to create opportunities that improve your life, that give you a better chance at life and build prosperity at every single level.
The president also spoke of co-investing with Guyanese people in business and said that billions are being spent on infrastructural projects, such as roads, which will increase the land value for every Guyanese.
If you had a home on the East Coast, 5 years ago, if you had to take a $30 million loan on that house, you would have gotten it at 9% interest rate. Today, you can take that same $30 million at 5% interest rate.
In other words, the president is saying that Guyanese can use their properties to borrow loans and create their own wealth. Antonio Day reporting for the HGP.
Stay with us. You're watching the HGP Nightly News. Thanks for staying with us here in the HGP Nightly News. Antonio Day informs us now that Jermaine Figuera, the Public Accounts Committee chairman, has formally resigned from his position as a member of the People's National Congress Reform and as a parliamentarian.
In a one-paragraph letter of resignation on Saturday, Opposition Member of Parliament Jermaine Figuera severed ties with the People's National Congress Reform, PNCR. The Londoner and retained Public Accounts Committee chairperson did not divulge his reasons for leaving the party. Calls to Figuera from Nightly News to solicit a response proved futile. It was suspected that the former PNCR member would have left the party given his relationship with the party's leader, Aubrey Norton. Figueroa, who served as Shadow Minister for Culture, Youth and Sport, was stripped of his portfolio by Mr. Norton, who indicated that Figueroa was underperforming. The position was then afforded to Nima Flubes, who is currently the Shadow Minister for Culture, Youth and Sports. There has been some accusations made towards Figueroa by some party followers who claim that the former PNCR member was diverging from the party to be aligned with the People's Progressive Party Civic. Figueroa was even seen publicly with government ministers and President Irfan Ali during community outreaches and defended that his visits were necessary since he is a representative of the region. On Friday at a PNCR press conference, the party's leader Aubrey Norton said Mr. Figueroa was invited to be part of the APNU AFC's candidate list for upcoming elections.
I have always said that there's a place for German Figueroa in the PNCR and the APNU. At least up until now, he hasn't signed, but once he is disposed to becoming a member of the list, he will be.
At this juncture, no one knows what Figueroa's next move is politically. Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
After citing glaring failures of the agriculture sector under the ruling People's Progressive Party Civic, People's National Congress Reform leader Aubrey Norton has vowed to refocus on promoting food security among other components to revitalize the industry.
Given its 28 out of 33 years in office, Aubrey Norton, leader of the People's National Congress Reform, has criticized the incumbent regime over its failure to sustain the agriculture sector.
Even with 4 oil budgets, they have failed in agriculture where it matters most. 1, reducing food poverty and food inflation. 2, increasing the quality, variety, and availability of food. And 3, feeding the nation.
Should the Partnership for National Unity, APNU, be elected to office on September 1, the party's presidential candidate said he intends to revitalize agriculture in Guyana by prioritizing food production and security.
We will make the agro sector one of the main driving forces in our non-oil economy. We will make farming a lucrative business for current farmers, youths, large investors, and others. We will make every region self-sustainable in agriculture.
Improving the drainage and irrigation system to meet farmers' water needs, enhance flood control, and address climate change, and increasing access to affordable farm credit through a state-owned development bank, and expanded support for small businesses are among the Partnership for National Unity's 20 plans of revamping the agri-sector. Mr. Norton also highlighted other key components of the agri-sector which must be addressed.
Promote crop diversification based on our comparative advantages, market assessments, and ease of adaptation, and incentivize the cultivation of more nutritious crops, such as fruits, beans, and vegetables, to help promote health and nutrition security.
The PNCR leader also has intentions of supporting agro-processing and value-added production, with tax incentives, sales promotions, and a network of community-based state-owned processing facilities. Antonio De reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Our developing story this evening, a man who was allegedly shot by police on the west bank of Demerara is nowhere to be found. A search party has been formed and the police once again has come under fire. After being shot by police Sunday night, the family and friends of Quincy Bernard have since launched a search party after the Stanley Tongue man was nowhere to be found. The man's mother, Carol Bernard, told reporters on Monday that she was at a birthday celebration when she got the news that police shot her son. She said she immediately left the party and went in search of her son.
We search the bush. I take a light and I go away down in the bush looking for him. And I see him.
You had any problem with the police?
No.
Bernard said she confronted the policeman who shot her son, and that policeman claimed that he had an accidental discharge, and it appeared as though her son was hit and subsequently ran away.
And when I approached Alan and I tell Alan, I said, Alan, you shoot my son. He said, no, he ain't shoot him. He said that he run behind Quincy and he fall. And his gun fire up. I said, man, that is impossible for you fall and your gun fire up. If you gun fire, God's supposed to fire down because the point is down. The point is up. You have already done open the socket and your hand been done there on the trigger.
However, a man who was in the company of Quincy Bernard Sunday night said that it was the police van that rolled up alongside Bernard and demanded that the man accompany them to the police station. He said Bernard ran away from the police, and that's when gunshots rang out.
Quincy was like less than 5 feet away from Mr. Allen. If Mr. Allen come for arrest Quincy, all he had to do is hold Quincy and say, we go to the station. But otherwise, he keep telling man this thing got escalate. You understand? We got the station. Quincy decide to run. When Quincy run, he run behind Quincy and fire 2 shots. And Quincy Uncle Paul, and gun does it.
The eyewitness recounted that his friend left a trail of blood when he ran away. He said a search was launched, but there is no sign of Quincy Bernard.
We find Quincy. We search the whole back down. We come the back down last time, but 3 times. We cut the search this morning again. And then following up, the same police was being ordered by a superior to go and search. And he ain't going nowhere.
The Guyana police force has remained silent on the issue. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News. You're watching the HGP Nightly News. Stay with us. There is more news ahead. Welcome back to the HGP Nightly News. We tell you now that over 300 early childhood development practitioners gathered at the Arthur Chung Conference Center on Monday for the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security's Early Childhood Development Conference. The event focused on strengthening services, standards, and partnerships to improve the care and education of Guyana's youngest citizens. Find out more from Tiana Cole.
The Ministry of Human Services and Social Security on Monday hosted its Early Childhood Development ECD conference at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. In her remarks, Minister of Human Services and Social Security, Dr. Vindya Prasad, said the conference was created out of a need to bring stakeholders together in a shared environment to exchange ideas, address challenges, and develop practical solutions. The forum also aims to support the soon-to-be-launched Integrated Childhood Development Policy, which will be accompanied by guidelines and activities for daily implementation. The ultimate goal, she noted, is to ensure children in their formative years receive the best possible foundation for adulthood.
We have now seen 1,003 early childhood development practitioners trained across our nation.
Minister Prasad also revealed that there are currently over 360 daycares in Guyana, of which 350 are licensed and registered.
We must keep every child safe because every child deserves an environment where their safety is not an anomaly, but their safety is a normalcy.
Held under the theme, quote-unquote, elevating early childhood development, strengthening standards, enhancing service and building partnerships. The event provided a space for over 300 practitioners to collaborate, share ideas, and develop professionally. The conference was held in collaboration with UNICEF and the Government of Canada and is part of an ongoing effort to improve the quality of early childhood education and care in Guyana. Tiana Cole reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Stay tuned for your regional news.
Good evening and welcome to Monday's edition of the Regional News. More than 21,000 school suspensions were recorded between 2022 and 2025, prompting High Court Judge Frank C. Prasad to call for urgent reform in how the nation addresses school violence and student behavior. In his address at the 2025 graduation ceremony, he described the statistics as alarming, noting that they point to deeper issues within homes and communities. He warned that students are mirroring dysfunctional family behaviors, adding, quote-unquote. It takes a village to raise a child, and the statistics demonstrate that too many families in our republic are dysfunctional, as children mirror the behavior that they see. C. Prasad urged students to be alert as they transition to secondary school. He also addressed online conduct, advising students to think before they post. Justice C. Prasad also explained that the legal framework surrounding student misconduct. The commander of the United Nations-backed security mission in Haiti, mandated to fight powerful armed gangs in the nation on Monday, called on more countries to lend their support, as he marked 1 year since the first troops deployed. The first deployment of police from Kenya, which is leading the mission, arrived last June, over a year and a half after Haiti's government at first requested urgent support. While the UN aimed for the mission, which was sent to Haitian National Police, to reach some 2,500 troops, well under half are currently deployed. Gang violence in Haiti has displaced some 1.3 million people from their homes, fueling hunger and insecurity, while hospitals have shut their doors and much of the economy, judicial system, and government remain paralyzed. Some 580,000 people were displaced before the first deployment. Constitutional Court has halted an electoral court's investigation into President Gustavo Petro. The court ruled that only the House of Representatives can investigate Petro over alleged irregularities in the financing of his 2022 campaign, effectively ending the electoral court's proceedings. Quote-unquote. The House of Representatives is the competent authority to undertake the investigation into Gustavo Francisco Petro Orrego in its capacity as President of the Republic, the court said in a statement. Thank you for watching. I am Tiana Cole.
Venezuela's gold being smuggled into Guyana to help finance the Nicolas Maduro regime. United States puts Guyana on notice again. AFC slams GECOM over refusal to share voters' list with smaller political parties. Guyana, a poor country, but government to use revenues from oil and gas sector to create wealth, says President Ali. And a man shot and injured by police, nowhere to be found. Family, friends launch a search party. Those are our major headlines. For these stories and more, please go to our website. It's www.hgptv.com. I'm Travis Chase. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.